Let me ask you a question that might stir something deep in your heart. Have you ever noticed the way a younger woman's eyes linger on you when you walk past her on the street? Or perhaps the gentle warmth in the smile of a cashier when she hands you your change? You may think she's simply being polite. You may assume you have become invisible in a world obsessed with youth. But what if I told you that many men past 60 underestimate the quiet power they hold? What if I told you that you might be a stunning older man and not even know it? I have spent over 4 decades listening to my patients. I have heard their confessions, their regrets, and their triumphs. The truth I have gathered through these conversations is that age does not diminish a man's appeal. It only transforms it. In a society that worships smooth skin and tight muscles, older men often carry a unique magnetism that women notice and admire deeply, even if you do not realize it. There is a certain dignity in a man who has lived, who has loved, who has weathered storms and still stands tall. Women sense it like a soft hum in the air, something they can feel even if they cannot name it outright. One of the first signs you are a stunning older man is that women listen to you with a depth of attention they do not give to younger men. When you speak, they pause. They lean in slightly. This is not simply because of the words you choose, but because of the way you carry your life's wisdom. Research published in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships shows that women tend to be more drawn to older men who display confidence and emotional intelligence. This is not about boasting or dominating a room. It is about sharing stories and reflections in a way that feels authentic. Women can sense this authenticity from a mile away, and it draws them in like a warm fire on a cold night. Another subtle sign is the way women offer small acts of kindness toward you. Maybe they brush a crumb off your shoulder or adjust your collar. These gestures might seem trivial. You might shrug them off as simple courtesy, but these are quiet signals of admiration and affection. A study from the University of British Columbia found that altruism and small gestures of care increase perceived attractiveness in men, especially as they age. When a woman does something tender for you, it often means she sees you as someone worth nurturing and protecting in small ways. She admires your presence, your calmness, your steady warmth. Your calm under pressure is another trait that reveals your magnetic pull. As we grow older, we encounter loss, setbacks, and moments of despair. A stunning older man does not hide from these experiences. He learns from them. He carries a certain stillness, an inner calm that acts as an anchor for others. Women sense this stability. It makes them feel safe, understood, and grounded. They know you have weathered storms and you are not easily rattled. This is more attractive than any gym-sculpted biceps or fashionable suit. A study from the American Psychological Association suggests that emotional stability ranks among the top qualities women find attractive in men over 60. Let me also tell you about the power of your eyes. A stunning older man often has eyes that tell stories before his lips do. They are softer, more patient, yet filled with a spark of curiosity. Women pick up on this subtlety. You might think you have grown invisible because your hair has thinned or your skin has lined. In reality, your eyes now carry decades of laughter, heartbreak, adventure, and quiet moments. This richness is something no young man can offer. Your gaze holds power. It is both gentle and commanding, and it makes women pause in ways you may never see. There is also the way you move through a room. You might not realize this, but your presence can shift the energy around you. You walk a bit slower, more deliberately. You take in your surroundings with more appreciation. You no longer rush to be the loudest voice or the flashiest dresser. You have learned the art of subtlety. A fascinating study from the University of Zurich found that women subconsciously rate older men who move with calm, assured gestures as more attractive than younger men who move impulsively. Your slow, thoughtful steps signal confidence. And confidence, my friend, is one of the most compelling forms of beauty. You might also notice women initiating conversation with you more often than you expect. They might ask about your hobbies, your travels, or the book you are reading. These questions are not always casual. They are quiet invitations into your world. You see, many women today feel overwhelmed by constant noise and superficial chatter. When they encounter a man who offers depth and substance, they are instinctively drawn in. They want to know what you have seen, how you interpret the world, and what lessons you have carried with you. You become a living library, a comforting presence, and a mysterious adventure all at once. Another sign is the compliments you receive about your voice. Perhaps someone has said they enjoy the sound of your laughter or the steady tone of your speech. As we age, our voices often become richer and more resonant. They hold a timbre that speaks of years lived fully. Women notice this. According to a study published in the Journal of Nonverbal Behavior, vocal warmth and depth are strongly associated with attraction, particularly in older men. Your voice becomes a melody of experiences, and each note tells her you are someone to be cherished. The elegance of your grooming habits also plays a role. You may not realize it, but when you take the time to maintain your appearance, whether it is combing your hair carefully or choosing a well-fitted shirt, women take note. This is not about vanity, it is about self-respect. And nothing is more magnetic than a man who respects himself. A study from Harvard University found that older men who continue to care for their appearance are perceived as more attractive and competent. You show the world that you value yourself and that you continue to live with intention. Another unspoken sign is the warmth of your smile. A genuine, heartfelt smile can disarm even the most guarded hearts. When you smile, you reveal a vulnerability that is both endearing and strong. You show that despite the hardships you have faced, you still find joy in small moments. This quiet optimism is incredibly appealing. Women are not looking for perfection. They are looking for sincerity and warmth. Your smile tells them you are open to connection, to laughter, to life itself. Some of the most beautiful moments happen in the smallest gestures: holding the door for someone, offering a seat, listening intently when a woman shares her story. These acts might feel routine to you, but they are seen as rare treasures in a world often starved for genuine kindness. Women notice. They might not say it outright, but they remember the man who treated them with dignity and grace. Let us not forget the power of your silence. Younger men often feel the need to fill every gap with words. A stunning older man knows when to be quiet. He knows that true connection sometimes lives in shared silence. This ability to sit comfortably with someone without forcing conversation is a quiet but powerful sign of strength. Women sense this. They feel respected and deeply seen, not pressured or judged. Moreover, women admire your stories. Even if you think your life is ordinary, there is something profoundly compelling about a man who shares tales of his youth, his work, his travels, and his moments of self-discovery. You become a bridge between eras, a keeper of memories. These stories weave you into the fabric of her imagination. She starts to see you not only as a man, but as a living, breathing tapestry of experiences. You might think that all this attention is reserved for movie stars or men with fortunes. But I can tell you, from sitting beside countless patients over many years, that the real magic lies in presence, warmth, and authenticity, not in bank accounts or accolades. In fact, a study from the University of Iowa showed that after 50, women rate kindness, stability, and emotional maturity far higher than wealth or physical fitness when it comes to attraction. So if you have ever doubted your worth or thought your days of turning heads were over, I urge you to reconsider. Pay attention to the way women's eyes light up when you share a heartfelt laugh. Notice the softness in their voices when they thank you for a small act of kindness. These are all the quiet ways women admire and respect you. Even if they never say it outright, they feel it deeply. Perhaps today, as you walk to your favorite cafe or sit quietly reading your newspaper, you will start to see the world differently. You will begin to notice the subtle glances, the gentle touches, the extra moments women linger around you. You will recognize that you are not invisible at all. You are a lighthouse standing firm in the storm. You are a chapter that many wish to read over and over. I believe that aging is not about decline. It is about refinement. You have become a rare vintage that women quietly savor, and if you listen closely to the music of your everyday life, the small smiles, the soft questions, the patient listening, you will hear it. The world is telling you that you are indeed a stunning older man, a man admired in ways you never imagined, a man whose worth only grows with each sunrise. My dear friend, wear this knowledge like a gentle cloak around your shoulders. Walk through each day with the quiet pride of knowing that you are seen, you are valued, and you are loved more deeply than you might ever fully realize. Why do women value emotional stability over physical strength in older men? Let us consider a truth that many men, especially as they age, find difficult to accept. Society often praises physical strength and youthful vigor as the ultimate measures of a man's worth. We see images everywhere of the strong, muscular man as the ideal, the symbol of power and success. But if you look closely at the relationships and connections women form with older men, you will find a different reality emerging. It is emotional stability that women value far more than physical strength. This is not just opinion. It is a fact grounded in decades of scientific research and real-life experience. Why is this so? To understand, we must first recognize what emotional stability means. It is the ability to remain calm and steady in the face of life's inevitable challenges. It is the capacity to manage feelings and reactions in a way that brings peace rather than chaos. Emotional stability is not about suppressing emotions or being indifferent. It is about understanding oneself and others deeply. When a man shows emotional stability, he demonstrates resilience, patience, and a strong sense of self. These qualities create a foundation for trust and safety in relationships. Studies have shown this clearly. Research published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology reveals that women consistently rank emotional stability as one of the most important traits they seek in a long-term partner. This preference becomes even stronger as women age. Why? Because with age comes experience. Women have seen enough of life's unpredictability to know that physical strength alone cannot sustain a meaningful relationship. What they truly need is a partner who can be a calm harbor during storms, someone who can handle stress without falling apart or causing more pain. Physical strength, while still appreciated, often loses its central role as men grow older. The body naturally changes. Muscle mass declines. Energy levels shift. This is a biological fact that no one can escape. Yet emotional strength can grow with time, practice, and self-awareness. A man who has developed emotional stability carries with him a kind of power that is subtle, but far more enduring. He becomes a source of calm in a noisy world. This calmness speaks volumes to women, often without words. In fact, a study conducted at the University of California found that emotional stability in men is strongly linked to relationship satisfaction. For women over the age of 50, women reported feeling more secure, understood, and valued when their partners showed steady emotional responses rather than volatility. This sense of security is crucial. Physical strength may protect the body, but emotional stability protects the heart and mind. It builds a bond that can withstand disappointments, disagreements, and the inevitable ups and downs of life. Emotional stability also allows a man to communicate more effectively. He can listen without judgment, express his feelings without anger, and resolve conflicts without hostility. These are the qualities women crave in a partner. They do not want a man who flexes muscles to solve problems. They want a man who flexes patience and empathy. The ability to stay calm and compassionate even in difficult moments makes a man not just attractive, but trustworthy. Consider the role of stress in modern life. As we grow older, responsibilities often multiply. Health concerns, family challenges, financial pressures. These create a complex emotional landscape. Women who often juggle these same stresses look for partners who do not add to their burden, but instead help ease it. Emotional stability is a balm in this context. It means a man is reliable in his reactions, consistent in his behavior, and supportive when things go wrong. This reliability becomes far more valuable than physical displays of strength. Another important aspect is the connection between emotional stability and mental health. Men who maintain emotional balance tend to experience less anxiety and depression. They are better equipped to cope with the changes that come with aging. Women notice this resilience. They sense when a man can handle life's challenges without losing himself. This makes them feel hopeful and safe. They are not searching for perfection. They want a partner who can be real, steady, and present. Research from the American Psychological Association supports this view. Their studies show that emotional regulation skills improve with age and experience. Older men who have worked on understanding their emotions are perceived as more attractive and trustworthy by women. This attractiveness is not about looks. It is about character and emotional depth. Women are drawn to a man who has grown wiser, who understands himself, and who offers a sense of calm presence. Physical strength may turn heads for a moment, but emotional stability holds the heart for a lifetime. The man who can be a steady hand in turbulent times, a patient listener when words fail, and a source of gentle strength in everyday life embodies the kind of attraction that endures beyond youth. It is no coincidence that many women describe older men they admire as dependable, kind, and emotionally steady. This preference also ties into evolutionary psychology. While early in life, physical strength may have been essential for protection and survival. In later years, the qualities that help maintain a long-term partnership and family cohesion become more important. Emotional stability fosters cooperation, mutual support, and a nurturing environment. These qualities are essential for companionship and shared happiness, especially in the later stages of life. It is important to remember that emotional stability does not mean a man has no emotions or vulnerabilities. On the contrary, it means he understands his emotions, does not let them control him, and is willing to be vulnerable in safe and meaningful ways. Women appreciate this balance deeply. They want to feel close, to connect with a man who is honest about his feelings, but steady enough not to be overwhelmed by them. The cultural myths that equate masculinity with physical strength can sometimes blind men to the real qualities women seek. Many men believe they must appear tough, unshakable, and dominant to be attractive. However, these traits often translate to emotional instability when pushed to extremes. The true strength of an older man lies in his ability to remain grounded, kind, and emotionally present. In conclusion, the reason women value emotional stability over physical strength in older men is clear and backed by science and experience. Emotional stability provides the foundation for trust, communication, security, and lasting connection. It is a strength that grows with time, patience, and self-awareness. It offers safety in a chaotic world and warmth in moments of solitude. While the body ages and changes, emotional strength can deepen, making a man not only attractive, but truly remarkable. If you are an older man seeking to understand your place in the world of attraction and connection, I encourage you to nurture your emotional stability. It will serve you and those around you far more than any muscle ever could. Let me tell you something that many people do not want to talk about. Something that's quietly happening in homes and hospitals all over the world. I have seen it in my years as a doctor, and though science often looks for loud, flashing signs, death, especially in the elderly, almost always walks in gently. It gives us quiet warnings, small shifts in the body and spirit that we tend to dismiss. But if you watch closely, you will see them. And if you understand them, maybe, just maybe, you can offer comfort, peace, or a chance for more meaningful days. There is something that happens about a year before many elderly people pass away. It is not dramatic. It is not the stuff of movies, but it is real. The first sign is often a deep fatigue that does not go away with rest. This is not the tiredness after a poor night's sleep or the weariness after a long walk. It is a kind of exhaustion that sinks into the bones. They may stop doing the little things they once enjoyed. Cooking becomes a chore. Taking a walk feels too much. Visiting friends feels impossible. This kind of fatigue is not laziness. It is the body slowly beginning to shut down. Studies from the Journal of the American Geriatric Society have shown that persistent fatigue in elderly adults is closely linked with increased mortality within the following 12 months. The body is speaking, and it is asking us to listen. The second sign is weight loss. And I do not mean someone choosing to eat healthier or lose a few pounds. I mean unintentional weight loss. Clothes begin to hang looser. The belt notch moves without effort. The scale drops without reason. This happens because as the body prepares for decline, metabolism slows, and often the desire to eat fades. The National Institutes of Health have observed that older adults who lose more than 10% of their body weight in a year without trying have a much higher risk of death within that same year. The body's no longer interested in storing energy. Instead, it begins to conserve, to let go. It is nature's quiet way of making room for what is coming. Then comes a change in walking. Gait speed, as simple as it sounds, is one of the strongest predictors of survival in older adults. When I see someone who used to walk briskly now moving more slowly, or someone who pauses often to catch their breath, I take it seriously. A study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association tracked more than 34,000 older adults and found that slower walking speed was a clear predictor of mortality. When walking slows, it is not just the legs, it is the heart, the lungs, the nervous system. Everything is beginning to operate at a slower rhythm. The fourth sign is something I often see in the eyes: withdrawal, not just from physical activity, but from life itself. Conversations become shorter. Visitors come and go, but there is less interest. Even television, music, or reading lose their spark. Some begin to speak less. Others sleep more during the day, spending longer hours in silence. This is not always sadness or depression, though those can certainly play a part. It is a shift inward, a natural retreat, a quiet farewell. Research from the British Journal of Psychiatry indicates that social withdrawal in the elderly is often a predictor of nearing death. The spirit, in a sense, starts its own quiet preparation. Next, there is confusion, and this one is perhaps the most alarming for families. You might notice that someone who was sharp begins to forget things more often. They may become disoriented, not knowing what day it is or even where they are. At first, it may seem like normal aging. But when this disorientation happens more often, and especially if it comes with sudden personality changes or a loss of interest in hygiene, eating, or managing daily tasks, we must pay attention. Delirium and cognitive decline, particularly when they come on over months rather than years, often point to the body's failing systems. According to research in the New England Journal of Medicine, a decline in cognitive ability in the last year of life is highly common, especially among those not previously diagnosed with dementia. The sixth sign is repeated hospitalizations or infections, a cough that keeps coming back, a urinary tract infection that returns, pneumonia that lingers. Every time they recover, it takes longer, and each illness seems to leave them a little weaker than before. This is because the immune system, like the rest of the body, is growing tired. It no longer fights with the same strength. The resilience that once brought them back from illness starts to fade. A study from the Journal of Palliative Medicine showed that elderly patients who experience 2 or more hospitalizations in the year prior to death are significantly more likely to pass within the next 12 months. These illnesses are not just setbacks, they are messages. And then there is the final sign, the one that cuts deepest, a kind of surrender. I have seen it in the way an elderly patient suddenly says they are tired of fighting, or when they stop insisting on medications, treatments, or doctors. Sometimes they say it softly, "I just want to rest." Sometimes they stop talking about tomorrow. Their eyes stop searching the future. They live more in memories. They talk more about the past. And often they speak of people who have passed on as if they are close again. This emotional and spiritual preparation for death is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is the body and the soul coming to a natural point of acceptance. Psychologists and hospice researchers have long noted that this internal shift often comes about a year before death. It is a transition we must honor, not fight. None of these signs by themselves mean death is near. But when they begin to cluster, when you see 3 or 4 together over the course of months, you must listen. Because these signs are not only warnings, they are invitations. Invitations to spend more time together, to talk about the things that matter, to forgive, to laugh, to say the things that we hold back because we always believe we have more time. It is in these months that we can give the most meaningful love. When we stop pretending death will not come, we begin to truly live. As a doctor, I do not bring you these signs to bring fear. I bring them so you can understand, so you can see the beauty even in the end of life. Because death is not the enemy. The enemy is silence. The enemy is pretending not to see what is right in front of us. When we recognize these signs, we are not giving up. We are waking up to the chance to make every day count, waking up to the truth that time is sacred. Let me remind you that science supports what the heart already knows. The studies I have shared with you are not just numbers. They are stories of thousands of lives. And behind each statistic is a person who was loved, who mattered, and who left behind lessons if we are willing to learn. Fatigue, weight loss, slower walking, social withdrawal, confusion, infections, and emotional surrender. These are not just signs of decline. They are the body's final conversation with us, the last language it uses to speak. So if you notice these signs in someone you love, do not turn away. Sit with them longer. Ask about their childhood. Hold their hand. Make their favorite meal. Do not rush to fix them. Just be there. Sometimes the greatest medicine is presence. And sometimes what a person needs most is to know that, in their final months, they are not a burden. They are still deeply needed, deeply valued, deeply loved. I have seen patients who, in their final year, began to truly live. Because when the body begins to whisper goodbye, the soul often opens in a way it never has before. Do not miss those moments, because they are treasures, moments of clarity, of honesty, of love that has nothing left to prove. That is the beauty of understanding the signs. That is the power of paying attention. And if you yourself notice these signs in your own life, do not be afraid. Instead, take it as a chance to live more intentionally, to call the friend you haven't spoken to write the letter you've put off, to forgive, to rest, to let go of what does not matter. Because maybe this is not just a warning, maybe it is a sacred invitation. You see, medicine has its limits, but love does not. And when you understand these signs, when you really see them, you begin to walk with those you love through the last chapter of life, not with fear, but with presence, with grace, with honor. That is the greatest gift we can give the elderly. Not more time, but more meaning. Not longer days, but deeper ones. And it begins with seeing, with noticing, with knowing that even as life fades, something beautiful is always trying to come through. So do not wait. Look, listen, and most of all, love. What can you do if you see these signs in a loved one? If you've started noticing these quiet signs in someone you love, maybe it's your parent, your spouse, or someone you've cared for your entire life, you might be wondering what to do next. The signs we talked about before are real. Fatigue, weight loss, confusion, withdrawal, slow walking, repeated illness, the sudden surrender. These are not just symptoms. They are part of the body's message. The body does not shout, it whispers. And if we are willing to truly see and hear what is happening, we can show up for our loved ones in a way that matters most during this final chapter. The first thing I want you to do is not panic. This is not a time for fear. It is a time for presence. You see, when a loved one begins to show these signs, our instinct is to fix. We want to call doctors, we want tests, we want answers. And while some of that might be necessary, what they often need more than anything is your presence, your calm, your steadiness. The Harvard Medical School released a study that found emotional support and consistent companionship in the final months of life had a more powerful impact on psychological well-being than even medical interventions. In other words, just being there can mean more than anything you can prescribe. The second thing you can do is to start asking the right questions. These are not medical questions. These are heart questions. What do you want most right now? What makes you feel safe? Is there anything you want to say or do before your journey ends? These are questions that invite honesty and open the door for peace. Too often we avoid these conversations out of fear, but studies from the Journal of Palliative Medicine show that when patients nearing the end of life are given the opportunity to express their wishes, they experience far less anxiety and are more likely to die in peace, with dignity, and with their values honored. Next, pay close attention to daily routines. If they are sleeping more, eating less, or struggling to move around, start adjusting the environment around them. Keep things simple. Remove clutter, create comfort, make everything they need easy to reach. Place photos where they can see them. Light a candle if they like it. Play the music they once loved. These small changes often do more than any medication can. A study published in The Gerontologist emphasized how tailored environments and simple comforts have a measurable effect on reducing end-of-life stress, especially in elderly patients living at home. Also, begin to involve others, not just medical professionals, but people who matter: a sibling, an old friend, a neighbor who always made them smile. Now is the time to make those calls, and if they say they do not want to see anyone, do not force them, but offer, gently. Sometimes they will say no today, but ask for that person tomorrow. Remember, this is their journey. Your role is not to push, but to walk beside them. If their medical needs are becoming too much for you to handle alone, do not wait too long to seek help. Many people think calling hospice means giving up. It does not. It means giving your loved one a team that specializes in comfort, dignity, and peace. Hospice teams are trained not just in medical care, but in spiritual and emotional support. A comprehensive study in the New England Journal of Medicine found that terminally ill patients who received hospice care not only experienced a better quality of life, but in some cases lived longer than those who pursued aggressive treatments. That may sound surprising, but it is the power of peace. The body responds when it no longer has to fight. You must also take care of yourself. Watching someone decline can break your heart a little more each day. It wears down your spirit. And if you are not careful, your energy, your sleep, your emotional health will begin to suffer. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You must take moments to rest, to cry, to breathe. Reach out to someone you trust, whether that is a friend, a spiritual leader, or a support group. The American Psychological Association confirms that caregivers who receive emotional support and practice self-care are significantly better at coping and are more effective in their roles. Now let's talk about talking. Do not hold back the words you have been meaning to say. Whether it is gratitude, apology, or simple affection, say it. You do not need a perfect moment. You just need to speak from your heart. I have been at the bedside of hundreds of patients in their final weeks, and what I can tell you is this: most people do not wish they had done more. They wish they had said more. Said I love you more often. Said thank you more clearly. Said I'm sorry more bravely. If you still have the chance, take it. Also remember that touch matters. A hand held, a gentle stroke on the forehead, a hug if they are strong enough to receive one. Human touch releases oxytocin. That is the same hormone that bonds mother to child. It brings calm. It says, you are not alone. In fact, studies by the Touch Research Institute have shown that gentle physical contact can lower pain, reduce stress, and ease fear in the elderly, particularly those near the end of life. Do not underestimate the healing power of your hand in theirs. As time goes on, you may begin to see more signs: shortness of breath, little appetite, long stretches of silence. These are not things to fix. These are part of the body's way of preparing. If they no longer want to eat, let them choose. If they want to sleep more, let them. Your job now is not to push life into their body. It is to fill their final days with gentleness, respect, and presence. A study in the Journal of Pain and Symptom Management found that when patients were allowed to make their own decisions and were supported without pressure, their final weeks were far more peaceful and emotionally complete. And finally, know that what you are doing matters more than you will ever know. When someone dies feeling loved, seen, and held, that is not only a gift to them, it is a gift to you. It stays with you, it shapes how you grieve, and it helps you carry forward their memory, not with guilt or regret, but with love and peace. You may think you are not doing enough, but if you are showing up every day with honesty, patience, and care, you are doing more than enough. So if you are seeing these signs in someone you love, do not see them as a reason to panic. See them as a signal, a sacred invitation to walk with someone through the most meaningful time of their life. Not because it is perfect, but because it is honest, because it is real, because it matters. Every moment now is a chance to love better, to listen deeper, to speak more openly, and to remember that this chapter, however hard it may be, is not just the end. It is a time for truth, for closeness, and for the kind of love that stays with you long after the final goodbye.